Hi, I'm Heather from Heather Handmade, and today I'm going to teach you how to make cute little pumpkins out of sweaters. This is a great upcycling project to make little sweater pumpkins. They're so cute because of the, if you get a sweater with a nice cable, you can find any color that you want. Just check your closet, check the thrift store. I have added sticks for the stems, but you can also use cinnamon sticks, or you can make little stems from ribbon. This project is so fun because not only are you using something that might be thrown away and then you can reuse it for something fun and cute for decorating, but this project can be all done by hand. You do not need a sewing machine. I do show you how to do it with a sewing machine, but I also show you how to do it by hand with just a needle and thread. This is a great little project. I cannot wait to decorate with these cute sweater pumpkins. So let's get started. For this project, you're going to need a sweater that you're willing to cut up. We are only using the sleeves for these sweater pumpkins. And if you have a really skinny sleeve like this, it's going to be a skinnier pumpkin. And if you have a wider sleeve, it's going to be a bigger pumpkin. You'll also need, I'm going to be using just some sticks from my backyard for these pumpkins for the stems, but you can also use like cinnamon sticks. You can roll up some ribbon and make your own stem. So, however you want your stem to look. We are also going to be sewing the sweaters. You can sew them with a sewing machine or you can sew them by hand. You are also going to need a lot of polyfill. You're also going to need some embroidery floss and a long needle. I like to choose my floss in a color that matches close to my pumpkin. So I'm going to start with this white one. I'm using my fabric scissors and I'm just going to cut off the cuff because I don't want that thick fabric. And I want the width of the sleeve to be about how tall it's going to be. It's going to be kind of like a square. And I'm just going to cut across like this. And if you want, you can fit in another one, and these ones get a little bit bigger as you go up. So for this one, I'm just going to cut out 3 from one sleeve, and those will be the pumpkins. I'm not going to cut the other sleeve. This one does not have a cuff, so I'm not going to cut anything off the bottom. And I am cutting multiple because it might turn out that I don't like how small these ones are at the bottom and I want to use the wider ones. It kind of depends on how much your sweater will stretch, which you don't really know until you start stuffing it. So the next thing you are going to do is you are going to sew a basting stitch, that's the longest stitch, around each opening on each side. I'm actually going to sew 2 rows on each one because I don't want that thread to break when I'm gathering it and pulling it tight, so I'm going to sew 2 rows. I'm going to sew one at 1/4 of an inch and one at 3/8 of an inch, so they're pretty close to the edge. I'm not worried about the look of the gathers once it's done as much as I'm worried about, like, I need this to be pulled in really tight. Once you have both the top and the bottom sewn, you are going to gather one side of each pumpkin. So I'm grabbing my threads like this. I'm going to gather this side. As you can see, this one, because this yarn is so chunky and thick, this is as tight as I could get this. So I'm going to tie this off, and then later when I go and add some stitching, I'm going to close that hole a little bit better. If you're going to sew your basting stitch with a needle and thread, I like to use embroidery floss because it's nice and thick, it won't break. And I use 3 to 6 threads on one string. Then I get my needle, and then I'm going to go in, it's about 1/4 of an inch away from the end, and I'm just doing big stitches, and I'm going to go all the way around the top and then all the way around the bottom. I have already tied a knot on this end so that as I pull, it's going to pull that in, because we want this to be pulled in tight. So I'm just going to go all the way around. Once you've gone all the way around and that knot is nice and tight, I'm just going to pull that thread so it's nice and tight, so you get that nice hole. And if you can, you want to, this is going to be tucked inside, so it's just going to look kind of like a little tiny hole. But I'm going to tie off this thread first, and then I'm going to tuck it inside. I have pushed all of that seam allowance inside. You can see it right in here, tucked in. And once we're going to sew some stitches around the sides to do, you know, the lines in the pumpkin. So that's going to help. We're going to do a little bit more sewing. So that side of the pumpkin is done, and now I'm going to stitch around the top. I've tied a new knot since I'm going around again. So all of my pumpkins have one side that is closed, and now I'm going to stuff the other side with the polyfill to make it nice and round. Now I'm going to pull the basting stitch and tighten the top of each one. I'm going to start with the one that I stitched by hand. It's still connected, and I'm just going to pull that tight just like that. And this one, since it's still connected, I am going to tie a knot right here at the top, but then I'm going to use this same thread to make the lines on the pumpkin on the side. So I'm going to start, this is nice and closed here, and this is mostly closed here. So I'm going to start with my needle I'm going to press this down like this, and I'm going to push my needle down through the middle to kind of, you want to kind of flatten it so it's a little bit like a squashy pumpkin. Then this thread's going to wrap around the side like this and come through the middle again. Like this. So I'm going to pull that tight. Then I'm going to, I want the next line to be a little bit over here. So I'm starting to get those nice kind of bumps on the pumpkin. Let's see, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 done. I'm going to do 2 more. Then I'm going to tie this thread off. I have those that nice pumpkin shape around the edge. This pumpkin is done. I'm going to put it to the side and finish the other ones before we do the stems. Going to take this orange thread first, and I'm just going to close the bottom of both of these orange pumpkins that are a little open. I find that I only need to do this to the ones that are really thick, that have the holes that can't close. For these little white ones, they've closed just fine, especially when I'm going around and adding some more stitching. So it's just the thick fabric. Once all the pumpkins are done and finished and tied off, then I'm going to take my sticks and I'm just going to poke them into the top. You can hot glue them if you want. You just want to stick your stick like in a hole that you can find. I'm not going to hot glue mine because I think that mine will stay in just fine. So I'm putting the thickest ones on the biggest pumpkins. And that's how you make sweater pumpkins, by upcycling sweater sleeves into cute little fall pumpkins. I can't wait to decorate with these all fall. Check out these other fall sewing projects and upcycling projects. You might find something exciting to make. If you make these pumpkins, please share them with me on social media. I can't wait to see everything that you make. Thank you so much for watching my video.